When I was 9 years old, I had this dream. So I made a plan. And the dream and the plan was to be the best safety in the whole world. Safety is a position in football, for American football, for those of you who don't know. So I had this plan, I drew up this plan to be the best safety in the whole world, and I had 20 years to do it. I brought that plan with me today. I'm going to show it to you. Some kids just reminded me the other day that this plan is now 46 years old. So I felt really good about that. And there it is. That is my little Declaration of Independence. I got to show you guys this. Check this out. Oh, nice. It's a hell of a jump. Okay, that's me, right? Look at that hairdo. You guys see that? There I am. Right? You got to check these cleats out, though. Look at those cleats. They're like 9 inches long. That's how I drew when I was 9. So that is the 20-year plan to become the best safety in the whole world. Now, if you wanted to be the best safety in the whole world, there's one thing you got to do better than anyone else in the whole world. And that's this. You got to do one thing better than everybody on this planet, and that is this. You got to be able to run backwards faster than the fastest man in the world runs forward. So for the next 10 years after drawing up that plan, all I did was run backwards. Every recess, boom, boom. All my buddies were running forwards. I was running backwards. My dad, he woke me up every morning at 5 a.m. I went out to the wet grass, and all I did was run backwards. 10 years passes. 10 years passes. The dream is going along just like it should be. Now it's time for me to go to college. So if I'm going to be the best safety in the whole world, I got to go to college and play safety, right? So there's 350 colleges in the United States that play college football. 350. Not one wanted me. Not one. Not one wrote me a letter. Not one recruited me. Zero. Think of the worst college you ever heard of. Or a junior college in your neighborhood. They didn't want me. So this is what I did. I invited myself to this small college near my hometown. It was called UC Davis. And at UC Davis, they don't give any scholarships. They basically play football there for fun. It's not even a real deal, right? So I go, that's perfect for me. I'm going to invite myself to UC Davis. I'm going to keep the dream alive by playing football for them because they don't give any scholarships or anything. Anybody could play there. So I go to UC Davis. And the first day at UC Davis, I get in this line. And the line is like this with 100 guys in this line. And I'm right in the middle of the line. And at the front of this line is a window that is cut out of the wall. On the other side of this window are two equipment managers named Sid and Beasley. And these are the two meanest dudes I ever met. They had tattoos way before it was cool to have tattoos. And they hated freshmen, especially if you weighed 145 pounds. So I'm in this line with 100 other guys, and by the time I get to the front, I say this to Sid and Beasley. Hi, I'm Bo, and I'm a freshman. And I would like to play on the UC Davis football team. To my shock, Sid and Beasley gave me a practice uniform and a combination to a locker. So I went over to the locker and I opened it up. I hung up my civilian clothes. I put on this practice uniform and I ran out to practice. And I practiced for 2 hours with the UC Davis football team. And at the end of the 2 hours, all us 100 guys, all us players run into the locker room. And the locker room entrance is about right here. Our head coach, a guy named Jim Soker, would stand right in front of the entrance to the locker room, and he would watch us men file by. And as I got close to him, this is what he did after the first practice. Excuse me, Mr. Eason, hi, can I have a word with you, son? And I was like, oh shit, Coach wants to talk to me already, must have done good. So I ran over to Coach and I said, hey, Coach, how you doing? And Coach said, I'm doing pretty good. However, you, not so good. Look, you're too small and you're too slow to ever play football at this university. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to send you home and we're going to take away your dorm key. We're going to take away your meal ticket. Now you can go home and in 30 days time when school begins, you can come back, you can go to school here, but you will never play football at this university. I ran as fast as I could right into that locker room. I went right to my locker and I undid the combination. I took off my practice uniform and I hung it up. I put on my civilian clothes and I ran as fast as I could out to the parking lot. And in the parking lot is my 1977 Ford Courier pickup. It is a piece of junk. It's all rusted out. It's blue. The windshield is totally broken like this. And then I stole one of my mom's hangers so that it would be the antenna so I could get music. And I stuck it in there. And I got in this Ford Courier pickup and I drove as fast as I could to the grocery store. Fast as I could to the supermarket. Because 24 hours before this happened, 24 hours before they sent me home, I was sitting in this Ford Courier pickup, just sitting there in my mom and dad's driveway. And I'm the youngest of 6 kids, so all my older brothers and sisters, they all said goodbye to mom and dad. They sat in their piece of junk car and they drove off to college for 4 years. And now it was my turn. So I'm sitting there in my little pickup and I'm waving goodbye to my mom who's on the porch waving. And my dad is standing right at the headlights of my pickup truck. And my dad is a cowboy. He's a rancher, so he doesn't talk a lot. But me and my dad make eye contact through the windshield. And then he walks around to the driver's side and he knocks on the window. And I was like, oh shit, Dad's gonna say something. So I rolled down my window and I said, Dad, what's up? And my dad still doesn't say anything, but he reaches into his back pocket and he pulls out his wallet. He opens his wallet and he pulls something out of the wallet and he hands it to me through the window. And he said, son, I want you to take this to college. It was a $10 bill. I said, Dad, I don't need the $10. They're paying for my room and my board. I don't need it. He said, son, just in case of emergencies, take the $10. So 24 hours later, I'm so happy I got $10. Because I go to the grocery store and I get the biggest jar of peanut butter that they have and old stale hot dog buns, 2 bags. Remember in those days, you get old bread, like a month old, they sell it for cheap. So I got 2 bags of hot dog buns. They were so hard, you could drive a nail with these buns. I got in that Ford Courier pickup, I parked it in the driveway of the locker room, and I ate peanut butter hot dog bun sandwiches for dinner that night. And I slept in that Ford Courier pickup. Next morning, second day of practice. And I just sort of did, what I always did, which was to pretend nothing happened. And I snuck into the locker room. And as I was making my way over to my locker, I looked up at that window and Sid and Beasley were right there and they were looking at me like this. And I snuck by them. I got all the way over to my locker. I opened it. It was empty. There was no practice uniform in my locker. So I went back to Sid and Beasley. I said, Sid, Beasley, you guys, guess what? Bo, that freshman from yesterday. Yeah, guess what, you guys? There's been a mistake. Yeah, there's no practice uniform in my locker. And Sid and Beasley go, yeah, there's no practice uniform in your locker because you're not on the team. We sent you home yesterday, took away your dorm key, took away your meal ticket, so get. But I can't see, because I got this, I have this dream, and I got a plan, and the dream and the plan is for me to be the best safety in the whole world. And I only got a few more years to do it, so could you just give me, like a practice uniform? Sid and Beasley are tough, man, tough. But Beasley had this soft underbelly. And he said this to me: freshman, you wait right there. And he walks to the back of the equipment room and he grabs something off the wall, like a hunk of cloth, something off the wall. And he walks back over to the window and he throws this hunk of cloth at me. And it's an old uniform, practice uniform, that doesn't match the rest of the team. It's a different shade of blue up here. The pants are a different shade of gold. There's no stripes. And they gave me this big-ass helmet that was so big. It's called a suspension helmet. They don't make them anymore. But the padding inside is actually rope. Rope is the cushion inside. So they gave me this big old helmet, like this big, so I couldn't see. Like every other step, the helmet come down over my eyes like that. But I didn't care. I took this old unmatching uniform and helmet. I went back over to my locker. I opened it up, took off my civilian clothes, hung them up, put on this practice uniform, and I'm out at practice again, just trying to blend in, but I don't match. 100 guys out there. It's hot. We're training. I'm taking every rep. I'm working as hard as I can. And nobody says anything to me for 2 hours. But I just keep practicing. 30 days goes by. Every day I sleep in that Ford Courier pickup. I eat peanut butter hot dog bun sandwiches for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I go out to practice every day. And no one says anything to me. But everyone, now and again, I could see a coach going over to our head coach, Jim Soker, and going like this. Coach, can I have a question? Why is that goofy freshman still here with the uniform and the helmet and all that? But nobody said anything to me, so I just kept going. 30 days goes by. Now it is time for our first game, and our first game is tonight. And my mom and dad are driving 3 hours to come see me play. So on game night, I just kind of did, what I always did, which was to pretend that nothing happened. And I sneaked my way past Sid and Beasley over to my locker, and I opened my locker, and it was empty. There was no game uniform in my locker. So I go back over to Sid and Beasley. I go, Sid and Beasley, you guys remember me, Bo, that freshman. Guess what, you guys? Yeah, there's been another mistake. Yeah, there's no game uniform in my locker. And Sid and Beasley are like, yeah, there's no game uniform in your locker because you're not on the team. We let you practice. We thought that was cute. But this is a real game with real players. You're not one of them, so get. I said, no, you guys, what you forgot was I still have my dream. And I still have my plan to be the best safety in the whole world. And guess what, you guys? My mom and dad are driving 3 hours to come see me play. They're going to wonder where I've been for the last month. If you could just give me something, just something so I can go out, just something. These guys are tough, man. But Beasley, that soft underbelly, but he's pissed. Freshman, you wait right there. And he walks to the back of the equipment room again. He grabs another hunk of something off the wall, returns to the window, throws it at me, and he says, here's the deal, freshman. You're going to put that uniform on. Again, this thing doesn't match. There's a totally different colored uniform. He goes, this is what you're going to do, freshman. You're going to put on that unmatching uniform. Then this is what you're going to do. You're going to run out with 100 guys with the lights on and the marching band, and you're going to be on the sideline. You are going to run to this little spot on the very end of the bench, and you are going to sit in that spot the whole game. If you move, or if the coaches or you get in the way of the real players, we will lose our jobs. Do you understand, freshmen? I said, I'll do it. I'll do it. So they gave me this unmatching game uniform. I went to my locker, I opened, I took off my civilian clothes, put on an unmatching game uniform, and I run out with the varsity. Game night, lights on, marching band. I was running out trying to blend in with 100 other guys. And as I'm running across the field, I look up into the bleachers, and my mom and dad are at the very top of the bleachers like this. Oh, there's our boy playing his first college football game. Little do they know, I'm not even on this team. And I make my way, just like Beasley told me to do, right over to this little spot on the very end of the bench, and I sit there the whole game. The whole game, I just sit there, and all I could do was look up at the scoreboard and at the clock ticking down, lower and lower and lower, until there was 1:34 seconds left in the game. And we're beating this team like 35-0. We're killing this team. I think we're playing like Chico State, somebody like that. We're killing them, right? And all I could do was just watch that clock and then look up at my mom and dad. And I thought one thing. I got to get in this game somehow. So it was time for us to kick the ball off, right? UC Davis is going to kick the ball deep to their return man, right? The kickoff team at UC Davis, that was the best special team to be on. Everybody wanted to be on that kickoff team. In fact, our best player, the captain of our team, a guy named Daryl Goss, he was on the kickoff team. And Daryl Goss got the kickoff team to huddle right here. All right, kickoff team, hey, bring it in. Hey, you guys, listen up, bring it in, kickoff, get ready. I was sitting 10 yards behind Daryl Goss, just staring at the back of his uniform. Because the number on Daryl Goss's uniform was number 2. That's the same number they gave me. They gave me a duplicate, unmatching jersey of our captain and our best player, Daryl Goss. So I said, this is my chance. So I sneaked up behind Daryl Goss, and I tapped him on the back of the shoulder pads, and Daryl Goss turns around like this. He doesn't even look at my face. He doesn't even know who I am. He goes, why are you wearing my jersey? I said, Daryl, don't worry about that right now. I got to ask you a favor, Daryl. I got to run down on the kickoff team for you. Can I? Daryl Goss like, are you crazy, man? You can't run down on the kickoff team for me. The coaches will kill me. I said, no. They can't kill you, Daryl. You're our best player. You're the captain of our team. If you just let me run down, man, my mom and dad are sitting up right up there and they could just see me. And Daryl Goss thought that was the funniest thing he ever heard. And he gathered all the senior boys and he goes, you guys, check this out. You guys got to check this guy out. You see that freshman wearing my number? He's going to run down on the kickoff team for me. Let's isolate on him. Let's watch him. So the UC Davis kickoff team lines up. And let's pretend going right down the middle of the stage, all the way to the back of the room, is the UC Davis sideline. So if you're off the field of battle, you're over here drinking Gatorade, right? If you're in the field of battle, you're here. This is where Daryl Goss lines up. Right here, he's the very end guy on the kickoff team. The sideline is 1 yard behind him. He lines up here. Our kicker's there, gonna kick the ball that way. Daryl Goss gonna run down and make the tackle. Here's where Daryl Goss lines up. Here's where I line up. And right before the kicker kicks the ball off, this is what Daryl Goss does. And this is what I did. And now the number twos have traded places. Our kicker kicks the ball off, I take off. Now I am small, but I am fast because I am scared. And I'm running down that field as fast as I can. Now, if you are the first person down on the kickoff team, you are met with what is called the wedge. And the wedge is the 4 biggest players on the opposing team. And this is what the wedge's job is. They interlock arms like this, 4 of them straight across, as if they're getting married. 275 pounds each, these guys. They lock arms like this, they run full speed to create a wedge. If you are the first person on the UC Davis kickoff team to get down there, your job is to become a wedge buster. And a wedge buster's job is to go full speed into the wedge and knock them all down like bowling pins so that your friends can now make the tackle. And so I'm running down and I look around and I'm the first one down, of course. And I knew my job and all my whole life just passed before my eyes. And it turned to slow motion. And as I was looking at this wedge, and I could only see him every other step because that helmet was coming down like this. All I could think about was, uh-oh, this is really gonna hurt. And as I got to the wedge, instead of busting the wedge, this is what I did. I closed my eyes and I went airborne over the wedge. And on my way back down to earth, bam! I hit the ball carrier right in the chest. Bam! He goes flat. The crowd stands up. Yeah! And I stand up. Yeah! And over the loudspeaker, I hear this. Tackle made by number 2, Daryl Goss. I dropped my hands and I tried to turn invisible and get off that field as fast as I could, because the part I didn't tell you guys was Daryl Goss is a 250-pound black man. And as I was making my way back to the little spot where Beasley told me to sit, I looked back over my shoulder. And our head coach, Jim Soker, the guy who sent me home 30 days ago, was standing on the sideline like this. And standing right next to him is the real Daryl Goss. And he's standing like this. So I watched the last minute, 20 seconds tick off the clock, and I heard the gun sound, and I ran as fast as I could into the locker room, straight to my locker. Nobody was in there. I went right to my locker. I opened it up. I took off this game uniform. I hung it up. I put on my civilian clothes. I didn't even shower. And then I ran right out to the parking lot, and I got in my Ford Courier pickup. And I had peanut butter hot dog bun sandwiches to celebrate. And that whole weekend, man, I was dying. I was thinking, this is it. I'm out of here. They're going to kick me out now. Sid and Beasley are probably going to get fired. Darryl Goss, he's not going to get to be the captain anymore. I'm out of here. Then Monday morning came around. Practice. So I just, just did what I always did, which was to pretend nothing happened. And I sneaked into that locker room on that Monday morning. And I looked up at Sid and Beasley, and they were pissed. I made my way all the way over to my locker, and I opened it. And there was a brand new varsity uniform in that locker. And 4 years later, I was the first safety chosen in the 1984 NFL draft. Yeah. People always ask, they go, well, how could that be? How could you be the worst player in the history of America that 350 colleges do not want, and then 4 years later, be the best player in the world at a position? And I said, it can happen because what's invisible to you is this. It's all those 5 a.m.s that nobody saw. My body caught up to me my whole life. I've been obsessed. And if you talk to my wife, who's in the back, she would say the word that best describes me is haunted by this term called the best. I left football after 5 years. I had 7 knee surgeries while I played, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And the next thing I just thought, just like all of us football players who come out of the NFL, what we're good at is very violent stuff. When we're the best in the world at that one thing, like running 25, 26, 27 miles per hour, and then just throwing your head into other bodies. That's what we're great at. That's what I was the best in the world at. And after I got injured, I thought one thing. I thought, what am I going to do now? And the first vision that popped into my head was an orange jumpsuit, that I was going to prison. I did, because the best thing that I do is illegal in the civilian world. You can get a lot of money out there and you get a pat on the butt out there, but in the real world, you don't. You go to jail. So to avoid jail, the very next thought in my mind was, I've got to find a platform. I've got to find something like this where I can express myself the same way I do on the football field, because you can be the best in the world at that, like physically letting yourself out. Can I do it again? Can I be taught to do it from a platform, from a stage? That way I can avoid jail, which is good for me, and actually make an impact and make a living and build a company. And that's what I did. I moved to New York City, and I went to everybody that I knew in New York City, and I go, I started this plan when I was 9. Now I'm 29, right? And now I'm saying, I want to be the best stage performer of my time. And I went to every student in my class and I said, who is that? Who's the best stage performer of our time? And this was 1990. And all these kids said Al Pacino was the best. And I said, cool, where's he? And they said, he's Al Pacino. You can't talk to him. And I said, I'm going to talk to him, because if he's the best, that's where I'm going. Because he's the only one who can tell me how to be the best at this. And he did. I met with Al Pacino for 3 hours at his house. And he broke down my next 15 years. And I said to him, I said, Al, I'd like to have your mantle. Everyone in my class tells me you're the best stage performer of your time. I'd like to be that of my time. And he's like, I can tell you what to do, but that's 15 years. And I said, that's good, because I work good in those kind of timelines. And he broke down my next 15 years. Basically, he broke it down on a piece of paper, and I just recreated another 20-year plan, with one thing being the same: the best. The best safety in the world, the best stage performer in the world. Not second, not third, one. I don't know why. That's why I'm obsessed with this. So I did it. I did it. In 15 years, basically to the day that Al Pacino sat down with me, 15 years later, I am backstage in a Broadway house in New York City, about to run out to a play that I wrote, and I'm the only guy in. And I've never been so nervous. I'd rather run into the wedge than these critics in New York. And I ran out. And as I ran out, I was doing the show. I was doing the play just like I'm talking to you today. I'm talking to the audience because that's the other character is the audience. And I make eye contact with a guy in row 5, and he's sitting right there on the aisle. And it was Al Pacino. Now, I hadn't seen him in 15 years other than movies and stuff, but I never talked to him. And he was sitting right there. And this is all he did. I'm making eye contact with Al Pacino going like this. I'm trying to remember my lines, and I'm going, shit, that's Al Pacino. And then I'm thinking about like The Godfather, I'm running through all his movies. And I'm looking at him, he's looking at me, and he's got his arms crossed like this as he's watching me on stage like this. And he's got his lips pursed like this. And this is all he did. Best review I ever got, right? Best review. I just did everything that he told me to do. I am haunted by this idea of being the best because I think it is natural for us to be the best. Does anyone got a problem with that? Because sometimes I talk to audiences and somebody will go, well, no, I'm not supposed to be the best. And I will just argue it this way. I'm not going to argue with you about you being the best, but you can take that up with Mother Nature. And Mother Nature, as far as I'm concerned, is undefeated. No one's beat her yet, okay? So I'm on her team. And she says, I'm the best. And she says, you're the best. And she says, you're the best. Because the first race you ever entered was on the day of your conception. And on that day, who remembers that day? You remember it? Some people do. Some people go, yeah, I remember that day. And then some people are like, I don't even want to think about that day. But let me just remind those of us who can't remember what happened on that day. 300 million sperm were delivered on that day. 300 million, you being one of them, okay? All of those 300 with 1 million years of design and instinct to do one thing, what? Get to that egg and fertilize the egg. Now, do you think that's a casual swim for them? Imagine that swim. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna do the backstroke. I hope I find an egg. Hope I get lucky. Oh, 300 million to 1 odds. I bet that was violent and dangerous, and we were swimming our asses off. And I know I was throwing elbows at my brothers and sisters, and I don't even know if sperm have elbows. So, you tell me, who won the first race you ever entered? 300 million to 1 odds, you. So the rest of your life, once you're born, you're gonna try to prove that you're not the best? Take it up with Mother Nature. We are the best. It is our responsibility, and it's who we are, okay? There is one thing on this journey that I've been taking, attempting to try to be the best. And I'm just using myself as a guinea pig. And I use my kids as guinea pigs. They're great guinea pigs. Kids, go, no, your job is to be the best in the world at whatever you want, whatever you're choosing. That's it. And that's our whole commitment is to that. My whole family's like that. The people that work with me, that's what they do, right? So that's how it goes. And so I'm gonna teach you right now 3 critical things that you've got to have to be the best, okay? Everybody got it? Here we go. Story, number 1, you gotta know your story. And that story has got to be personal, not distance from you. It's not a story like, well, my cousin had this happen to them. It's not like that. It is the more personal your story, the more effect you have. The more personal your story, the more universality that you have. Now, I'll give you a quick example. My dad, remember I told you? I'll give you a quick example of personal equals universal. My dad was a rancher, right? So he roped cattle when I was a little kid. I watched him do it. And one day I was watching my dad rope cattle, and he came up on this steer, and it's a 1,000-pound steer. And he ropes the steer, and steers don't like it when they're roped, so they run the opposite direction. The cowboy, my dad in this case, jumps off the horse and has to hold that steer down meaning hold that rope in his hand and it just slides through the cowboy's hand so fast as 1,000-pound steers run the other way. Well, my dad's hands, that day, I saw his hands, smoke come off his hands as the rope slid through. Now, when we would go swimming, me and my brothers and sisters in the summer, my dad would get in the pool with us with blue jeans on. And he would pick us up by our bare bellies and throw us across the pool. Every time he picked us up, we would scream, "Ah, Dad, put me down with those hands." Because his hands were nothing but scar tissue. So that takes me 40 seconds to tell you that story about my dad's hands. Personal equals universal. When I speak of my dad's hands, you don't think of my dad's hands. You think of your dad's hands. The more personal your story, the more effect you have here. Number one, you gotta know your story. You gotta be personal. Number two, most critical step is physicality. Do you guys know that we're predators? You know that human beings are predators? You would never know that this day if you watch the media, right? Because they only assign that moniker to the worst of our society, don't they? We're predators. We are the most dangerous, lethal predators on the planet, right? Aren't we? Great white sharks, killer whales, cheetahs, lions, leopards, falcons. We're more dangerous, more lethal. Stop apologizing for it. Well, our whole world has been apologizing for being a predator. So we're walking around like this. Physicality in your storytelling. Physicality to be the best. We're walking around apologetically like this. This is how our world works. Covering every powerful thing we got on us, we're trying to cover. Our heart, here, covering everything. Apologizing. Predators never do that. I was trained by the greatest movement coach in the world, a guy named Jean-Louis Rodrigue. You guys know Jean-Louis? Yeah. He works with the biggest movie stars in the world because their lifeblood is based on their physicality, not what they say. Physicality. Predator movement. There's a tribe in Africa called the Nuba tribe. The Nuba tribe is known to never be eaten by the predator cats that they live among. Yet all the other tribes are being eaten and attacked by predator cats, but not the Nuba tribe. Why? So Jean-Louis my teacher goes and lives with the Nuba tribe. And he takes videos and he takes pictures of how the Nuba tribe move. And they move exactly like I move. They are the predator. They don't apologize for it. So imagine all these cats are all around them, and the Nuba tribe moves through the jungle like this. And the cats are sitting there, just like our predators, just like our criminals in this society where we live. They're sitting there waiting for an easy meal. And the Nuba tribe will not give it to them because they're unapologetic. This is the men and this is the women, and this is how they move, like we're supposed to move. This is how we move. Nobody will mess with you. Nobody. At the end of Jean-Louis with the tribe, he goes to the chief and he goes, "Chief, you've got to be kidding me. You're telling me nobody from the Nuba tribe's ever been eaten by these predators, cats?" And he goes, "No, that's not true. We had some men eaten." And Jean-Louis said, "Why? When?" And the chief said, "When the men get drunk, they get eaten." So imagine these guys, these tribesmen moving through the jungle. Bam, cats all around, waiting. Don't touch them. They go down to the local, drop their guard. It's that subtle. Bam, dead. Dead. No different than our society. Your story, your quest to be the best has got to be physical. In a world that has reduced itself to like communicating like so tiny that our bodies just can't do it. We can't fit into it. And that's the reason we're so messed up. We start crossing boundaries. We start doing goofy stuff with our bodies because it's not expressive. We don't let this sucker out to hunt. Never trust a speaker who's not sweating their ass off. Yeah. Which gets me to my next point. This is the thing. Number one, more personal, the more universal, the more impact you have. Number two, physicality. People believe 50% of what comes out of your mouth. 50%. So as I'm talking up here, you're going, oh, I believe that. Oh, I don't believe that. Oh, Bo, I believe that. Oh, Bo, I don't believe that. 50%, one way or the other. But you believe my body 100% of the time because the body can't lie. Body cannot lie. This is why politicians stand behind podiums. It is. That's why they're invented. Because that body is betraying the shit out of them back there. It is. That's just how it goes. Never standing behind a podium. Because people don't trust that. They see your body being hidden, they don't trust it. Your body is so believable. You trust it like this fast. Everybody understand this? We are predators. We are the smartest, we are the most lethal, and we're also the most noble. Don't apologize for it. It's who we are. Don't let the media convince you that, oh, predator's a bad guy, a bad thing. It is not. It's the most noble thing on the planet. And those guys, those media guys, and those clowns are going against Mother Nature. I'm going with her. Guess why? She's undefeated. I hate losing. I don't like losing. So I saddle up with the best, which is Mother Nature. And I go with her. And what does she tell me? For one, I'm the best. Number two, I am a predator. And I move and don't apologize for it. So that people, and this is the only promise that I make for the people that I work with. I make one promise and that's it. You do what I say, or better yet, you just implement exactly what I do. You do what I do. And here's the promise. People will not have the ability to look away from you. And we can do this all day. I'm telling you, listen, think about this. What if I put a lion right there? A lioness. The one that hunts for the pride. What if I put her right there? What are you going to do as an audience? You tell me exactly what you do. I put a lion right here and she just sits there. What do? You don't do anything. You don't breathe. Unless she breathes. You don't think about going potty. You're not like, oh, I wonder if I should call my spouse and check in. No. You have to be a predator on stage. All of you have a quest. All of you have a quest. Who do you think is going to help you build that thing? Everyone else. You're not going to build it alone. Everyone else is going to help you build that thing. How are they going to build it for you? They got to have a predator in front of them. Because if somebody's apologetic up here, and I'm up here saying, hey, I'm Bo, and I'm real strong. I'm a powerful guy. But that's what we do in front of people. We just sit up there and we just go, I'm not as powerful as you might think. I don't want to scare anybody, so I'm just going to be half the man or half the woman that I'm meant to be. So I'll just try to fit in at Starbucks like this. But when a predator walks into Starbucks, what happens at Starbucks? When I walk into Starbucks, it goes like this. I walk in, the door opens, no one's seen me. This is what the line does. And they can't see me, the line's like this. This is what they do. Oh, hey, you want to go? They feel it. Your audience feels it. This is a learned thing. I was an athlete. I didn't know this. I didn't know this could be taught. This is a learned thing, who you are. Remembering who you are at the most basic level. You can't take your eyes off of it, no different than the lioness right here. Because there is danger in the room. But you don't feel scared, do you? Anybody feel scared? No. Why don't you feel scared? Yeah, you feel safe. You feel safe. Predators provide safety. They're dangerous, just like our Navy SEALs, just like our firefighters. They're dangerous dudes, but they provide safety. You understand? That's what it's about. So the next time you sit, and just think about your own life. Think about and I'll finish up here in just about 5 minutes. Think about the occupations right now that you can't look away from. You can't dismiss them. What are those occupations? Think about that for a second. What are they? What can you never take your eyes off of? dancer at the highest level, Mikhail Baryshnikov. You cannot, I did my show at his theater, and this dude and I would get in the elevator to go up to my dressing room, and he would be going up to his dance studio in New York. And I thought he was a big old dude, seeing him perform. He's like that big. Mikhail Baryshnikov, the greatest ballet dancer, changed the sport forever, changed the art form forever. He's this big, and he's much older than you think. You can't look away from this dude because of all those years of training. You look down at his feet, they are mangled, his feet. He has paid the price. He is a master. You can never look away from a predator like that. Nobody can knock him off. If you saw a Green Beret charging a beachhead with oncoming fire, could you look away from that? Could you go, No, you can't. If you see a firefighter charging into a burning building, a building that you're running out of and they're running into, can you look away from them? Can you go, like you do everybody else? It's impossible to be dismissed if it's life and death. If it's life and death. To me on stage, it'd be life and death. For you to build your quest, that's life and death. Because what happens to you if that quest never happens? What happens to your family? It's life and death to somebody. Everybody understand? The urgency's got to be there, okay? We are predators. This is how we're made. It's so much easier to be this. It's so much easier to be the best than it is to be mediocre. Mediocre, you got to invent a whole kind of language and excuses and point people out. That's our world, man. They just sit over there and point people out. Well, he's lucky, she's good looking. Just be the best. It's easy. Just do it, and there's no competition either. But you got it? Number one, the more personal, the more universal. Number two, physicality, predatory instincts, muscularity to the story. When I tell a story, am I physical or am I just like this? I'm going to tell you a story about me going to UC Davis. How long could you listen to that for? You're polite, so you'd listen for a few minutes because you're polite people. I can't stand when I see that. I just want to commit Harry Carey or something. I want to get rid of myself because of them, because they're not pros. See? The third most critical step that you've got to take to be the best storyteller, generosity. Generosity. Now, I'm not talking about generosity like, hey, I'm really generous, Bo, or hey, Bo, I'm a big tipper. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the art of giving all of oneself all of the time. Anyone remember a guy named Jerry Rice? Who remembers Jerry Rice? For those of you who don't remember Jerry Rice, he's known as the greatest football player ever to play the game, ever. He is so far out in front of the guy in second place, you can't even compare him. He's got 60 more touchdowns than the guy in second place. Do you know how long it takes to score 60 touchdowns in the NFL if you could stay healthy long enough? You can't do it. I used to play against this dude. It is a nightmare to play against the best player to ever don a uniform. But at the end of my career, I got traded to the San Francisco 49ers. So me and Jerry Rice are on the same team. The greatest player to ever play the game, 100 years. We're on the same team. I said, shit, that's good. I want to see what he does. So we get to training camp. First day of training camp, Rockland, California, 110 degrees outside. I made this little deal with myself when I was like 8. And the deal was this. Wherever practice I had for the rest of my life, whether it was a rehearsal or a tennis practice or football or basketball, whatever it was, I was going to be the first person on that court or on that field. And I was also going to be the last person to leave that field. That was just a contract. I didn't even tell anybody about it, but that was it. And that held true for 20 years. And then I got traded to San Francisco. And I walk out 2 hours before anybody's out there. And I look out at the green field and I'm like, this is my new home. First one out, 20 years straight. And I look right over here and guess who's standing right there? The greatest player in the history of a game. I'm like, how could that be? Why aren't the lesser players out here? Why is the best out here? Yet the rookies are sleeping. So Jerry and Rice and I stood out there for 2 hours getting ready. The rest of the team comes out, and this is a great team. Joe Montana, Roger Craig, Randy Cross, Ronnie Lott, lot of Hall of Fame players. So they all come out, right? And we start warming up. And this is the warm-up. Joe Montana and Steve Young are our quarterbacks. Joe Montana gets right here. They snap the ball to Joe. This is warm-ups, mind you. And Joe's going to throw these nice little patterns to the wide receivers who are right over here. Jerry Rice is a wide receiver. The first wide receiver does this. Joe snaps the ball. First receiver does this. Comes off the line, half speed, all cool. Breaks off a little slant route. Joe throws the ball. The receiver catches the ball and stops. Walks the ball back to Joe Montana, gives Joe the ball, back in line. Second receiver comes up. This is what he does. All cool, all pro glide, breaks off a little slant route. Joe throws the ball. Receiver catches the ball, stops. Walks the ball back to Joe Montana, hands Joe the ball, back in line. And then Jerry Rice came up. And I said, oh shit, okay. Let's see what he does. This is what Jerry Rice did. Boom! Full speed. Bam! Breaks off a slant. Bam! Catches the ball. Boom! Gone. 100 yards. Boom! Gone. All of us are like, where the hell's he going? All the way 100 yards, gets his body into the end zone, turns around, full speed, all the way back to Joe Montana, right back in line. Yeah, next guy comes up. Gonna run a little out route, right? Next receiver, this is what he does. All cool. Breaks off a little out route, catches the ball, stops. Walks the ball back to Joe Montana, gives Joe the ball, and then Jerry Rice came up again. And this is what he did. Boom! Full speed. Bam! Breaks it off. Boom! Catches the ball. Bam! He is gone. Over and over and over and over again. 3 hours went by. He must have run 10 miles of dead-ass sprints, putting his body all the way in the end zone, flipping it around all the way back. I never seen anything like this. I played this game 20 years. So I went up to Jerry Rice after practice. And I said, hey, man. I said, Jerry, what's the deal with you, man? Why do you do all that? You know, running. Why do you do that? And he goes, oh, that's very simple, Bo. I do that because every time these hands touch a ball, this body ends up in an end zone. There are no accidents. That guy is so willing to give of himself that I said, look, generosity is a dial that you and me get to turn. Generosity is up to us. All those other receivers, they could have turned it up like he did, but they said no. And you know what's funny about that? I can't remember their names. I know my teammates, I can't remember their names. Jerry Rice lives inside my marriage. He lives inside the way I parent. What? What'd I say? What'd I say? Check this out. I got asked, I'll close with this. I got asked to marry these two young people, right? And beautiful young people in Santa Barbara. And they came in to me and go, Bo, will you be the preacher man in our wedding? I'm like, I'm not a preacher man. And they said, yeah, we think you are. And I said, okay. So I went on the internet, and apparently I am, because 8 minutes later, I was a preacher man. And so the first wedding that I ever officiated was this beautiful couple in this beautiful church in Santa Barbara. And I never used notes or PowerPoints or anything. But I wanted to be official, right? So I bought this book with leather bound, but there was nothing written in this book. But I wanted to pretend like I was reading something, deep. And so I get in front of the congregation. The first words out of my mouth of the first wedding that I ever officiated was this. When I think of marriage, the first person I think of is Jerry Rice. Every dude in the audience was like high-fiving each other. They're like, yeah, man, this is my kind of wedding. But that's this guy's a football player, right? He's a football player, but he's impacted how much I'm willing to give of myself every day, every department of my life, whether it's parenting or marriage or speaking or leading. You turn that dial all the way up, and then you see who you end up being. Everybody got it? The first critical step is you've got to know that story, and it's got to be here. It can't be like distant from you. It's got to be personal. Second, you've got to physicalize that story. You've got to turn into the predator. And if anybody stands in the way of that story, of your quest, then they have to be eliminated. I mean, they do because, there's a lot of people standing in the way. Got to be eliminated. That's not that hard. They're going to step aside anyway because you're a predator. Watch when you go to the bathroom right now. Watch how you walk. You're like, man, watch. You watch. You watch how you eat. We're going to eat lunch right now, right? Watch how you eat lunch. You won't even use the utensils. You're like, that's what I want you to be with your quest.